even have time to do an introduction. I'm just really, really excited about what God has really allowed me to share with you because I have to get this off my chest. I really, really have to. I was supposed to do a million other things right now. I'm just coming from the gym. I'm still sweaty, but if you see me at the sanctuary, it looks exactly the same. This is talking about depression, and it's a shaky subject with a lot of black people, especially black men, and I dealt with it, and a lot of people don't know that about me. And if you don't know me personally, then you know my personality is really one of chipper, very positive, laugh and joke kind of guy, smiling. It's hard to picture me being depressed. If you know me, if you've really been paying close attention, not too many people know that I've gone through depression for the past 6 years, and I'm talking about this because I have to take the power away from this from other people, man. I really want to encourage people to get help or to address it. Some theology may say, depression is a spiritual thing. Some people might say it's a hereditary thing. And with me, I'm just going to share my experience with you. You can take whatever you can get from it, but here's my experience. About 5 years ago, or 5 or 6 years ago, I started going through depression. At first, I didn't know what it was. I just felt extremely, extremely lonely for no reason. And I just felt like everyone should cater to me. Everyone should come to me. I felt like I went through different phases. Like I went through phases where I felt like no one on the planet loved me, and that's ridiculous. I'm very loved, but it's like if you're someone who's going through depression, you see like this all of a sudden you see like this, and everything, all you see is your world. It's like everybody's against you. You feel like I don't know. It's just hard to really describe, but whatever's going on up here is really. It's real to you, despite what people might be telling you, despite how things might look to other people. It's real up here. And those people who haven't been through depression, it's real to the person. There's times I felt like no one on the planet loved me. There's times I felt like I was the loneliest person in the world. And I think what was happening was just that all I knew was something that changed in my life. Well, inside of me, not in my life. Personally, nothing caused my depression. I didn't go through nothing. I didn't lose a dead person. No one died in my family. In other words, I didn't have any deaths I was dealing with. I didn't have anything I was dealing with. But all of a sudden, although my life was great on the outside, money was good, wife was good, life was good, ministry doing good, everything was doing good, kids are healthy. What more can you really ask for? But nevertheless, I was still going through depression. I don't know what caused it. I still don't know what caused it to this day. But I'm glad I went through it because it helped me to understand what depressed people go through. It helped me to be a more effective minister, and it helped me to be humble. Before I went through depression, I used to think that people that was going through depression was just people that was down. Like, yo, just get over it. Just get over it. That was my mentality. But once I went through it, it's like you want to get over it, but you cannot. No matter what you do, you cannot get over it. There's times I woke up, a million times I woke up, I did not want to get out of bed. I could not get out of the bed. Wow. It's a lot. I have a lot to say, but nevertheless, I'm delivered from it, and I'll talk to you about that later. But I just want to encourage the men out there because sitting on it and not doing nothing only lets it get worse. And for a long time, I sat on it for probably about 3 years straight because one, I didn't know I was going through depression. I thought I was just having hard times, which I couldn't put a finger on. So what you try to do when you're feeling hurt, you try to find where it's coming from. So I blamed it on my childhood, which I had a great childhood, but I thought was something that stemmed from my childhood. I don't know. I blamed it on a bad marriage, but I had a good marriage. I blamed it on not having enough friends, but I have a lot of friends. So, what I was trying to do is just try to match the symptoms with the problem. Like, where's this coming from? But I still don't know where it's coming from. And so for a long time, I didn't know what was going on. There's no things affected me differently. I felt like everybody was getting on my nerves. I felt like, people just didn't understand me. I felt like I was really misunderstood. And I felt like, people needed to cater to me more. Like, if I was someone getting ready to commit suicide, I felt like I would have died by the time they realized what was really going on with me. I wasn't suicidal. Let me just clear that up. I was not. But there are times, if God took me, I would have been fine with it. Because I was like, Lord, if I have to wake up feeling like this, you might as well just take me. I'm fine. There's a lot of times I didn't want to wake up the next day because I knew I would feel the same way I felt the day before. There was times I couldn't get up. There's times honestly, I would just be at work sometimes by myself, and I would just break out crying for no reason. Everything would be good, but I would break out and cry at work for no reason. And this is something I don't share with people because a lot of times I don't cry in front of people. So this is deep. This is for somebody out here. This is something God laid in my heart to share, and I really want to share it because I know people personally around me that go through depression. It's not that they've told me, but I see the signs, I see the same symptoms, and I see the same pride that kept me from talking about it, kept me from getting help about it for the longest. When it comes to people, especially black people, and I'm not one that get on race all the time, but statistics are statistics. And I actually finally set that pride aside and went to a therapist. I went to a therapist, and it's like, we focus so much on our exterior health, our bodily health, our spiritual health, but we forget about our mental health. A therapist is not someone because you're crazy. It's someone that's helping you because you care about your mental health. If I wasn't going through depression, I would still go see a therapist because it helps to get that checkup, and no different than going to a physical. So people, we got to get better about going to see therapists for help. I went to a therapist, and he explained to me about depression, and my understanding with depression I have two different definitions to understand. One of it was like a spiritual thing, another one was a physical thing. And no matter what I wanted for the longest, I didn't want to admit that I was depressed because I felt like once I admitted that, then I would have to accept that I was depressed, or I didn't want to think about my family being depressed because I believe that although we don't talk about it, I believe that depression runs in my family. And I know for a fact a lot of my immediate family members suffer from it. I don't talk to them about it. We don't talk about it, but I know because I see it. I feel it. But I can say that I did get help, and that did help. It didn't cure the problem, but for 5 years, I also felt like I'm a Christian, I believe in God. I believe I've been healed. I've been praying for my deliverance and praying and praying and praying and believing I'm going to be healed. And sometimes I'll wake up, I feel good. Sometimes I wake up, I feel horrible. And it was just like you're just on this really emotional roller coaster. 1 minute you're up, 1 minute you're down. I mean, I would be happy 1 minute, and literally the next minute I would be crying like someone close to me died. It's not funny. It was just really serious like that. And I didn't even know why I was crying. That was a frustrating thing. It's like, it's one thing if you're sad and you're hurting and you're depressed and you're like, why? Oh, my wife is cheating on me, or whatever the case may be. Someone just died. That's why I'm hurting. But no, everything was great. So imagine having a great life that you can't enjoy because you're going through some kind of depression that you can't even explain. It's horrible. It was rough. And a lot of times I didn't want to show it because I'm that positive guy. I'm the one that keep people laughing. I'm that dude that people come to when they feeling sad. So I couldn't let them know I was going through. So that pride and that fear and just that sense of responsibility kept me from really speaking. Only two people on this planet I've actually heard me say I was depressed. And one's my wife, and I'm not going to tell you who the other one is, but either way, and the therapist, of course. So we talked, and I met with him several times. And honestly, he gave me a lot of stuff to help. And I looked at different things. For one, if you're going with the chemical definition of depression, it's basically when your body doesn't produce enough dopamine, which is the natural drug or chemical your body produces to give you a sense of well-being. So, of course, my therapist, counselor, whatever, told me what I should do was go to the gym more because that would produce dopamine, which therefore it would at least counteract the depression that I was going through. Give me a sense of well-being. So that the chemical way the depression affects your brain is it keeps the dopamine production low, which is what gives you the feeling of well-being. And so I did that. I took all the advice that he gave me. I didn't meditate. He said meditate. I wasn't feeling the meditation. I was being rid of myself. But I do keep a journal now. And honestly, keeping a journal does help because you need someone to talk to. Even if it's yourself, you have to get this out of here in order for your healing to take place. You know what I mean? So for me, I didn't think keeping a journal I thought it was corny. I didn't want to do that. So I started keeping a journal. And honestly, I'm not even depressed anymore when I still keep a journal because it's fun to go back and see the growth and the progress where God has brought me with this. And I'm not depressed at all. I've been delivered. I haven't had any relapse or anything. I've been delivered for about 6 months now. And it's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing. Oh my God, I can't explain how wonderful it is. But fellas, women, whoever, if you're going through depression, you owe it to yourself and you owe it to your family to address it, to admit to it, own up to it. Then you can fight. Once you know what the enemy is, then you can address it. But the whole time I'm going to counseling, the reason I didn't want to go through counseling because I felt like it's a spiritual thing I was going through. I didn't think about the chemical thing or the hereditary thing. All that's what my counselor told me. It was to the point where I was waiting on God to heal me because I felt like God wanted to heal me from this. I don't know how, I can't explain everything, but I know, and I had this feeling in my heart that God wanted to heal me. He's going to use this as a testimony. Although it was horrible, I prayed about it. I prayed for deliverance 1,000,000 times over. Try to praise through it. Everything they tell you to praise through your troubles, that didn't work at the times, But keeping that journal did help. And after a while, I started, I had greater periods of time that would be between the time I was depressed and the time I was not depressed. And then sometimes it would just hit me for like a month straight. And sometimes I would be good for a couple months. The next time I'd be hard for 2 weeks. It was really, really crazy. So if you've never been through depression, you would never understand what people that are depressed go through. But just understand they're not doing it on purpose. They don't want to be depressed. This is hard. You don't want to be depressed. But look, my kids, I don't know if my kids knew it. They knew something was, my daughter's not in her head yet, she knew. But I didn't want to admit I was embarrassed, and but seriously, to sit on it to sit on it and not do anything about it, not even own up to it, not even try to pursue help, that's just whack. I don't know how else to say it, it's whack. I did it for 3 years, and in the process, almost lost my family. I felt like I was losing myself. I felt like I was losing my family because I come home and want to enjoy my family. Then I just go straight to bed, lay in my bed, just cry sometimes, just be by myself. Just had this sulky attitude about myself, just really woe is me type attitude. Then you feel embarrassed about it because that's not how I really am. So it's like your personality is trapped inside of this depression cocoon or whatever you want to call it, and you look it on the outside, but you're like you really have no control. You don't know what you're doing. You can't snap yourself into joy. I think about I count my blessings and stuff like that, and none of that seemed to help. So like I said, I started going to counseling, but it wasn't until me and my wife sat down and she looked at it as it not being me, but something that we had to fight together. That's what really helped me get through a lot of it. And that's how my counselor had me look at it. He's like, it's not you. Y'all have a common enemy. It's the depression. It's the depression. And when I admitted that and owned up to it, it gave me more motivation to fight for it, But fellas, men, please, because men are more prideful than women when it comes to depression. Like you think you saw it because you go through depression, but it's not something you just choose to go through. It's something you're going through. But you have to go get help. I encourage you to get help because your family is more important than your pride. I really almost lost him because of it. And by the time I would have realized, it would have been too late. But like I said, when you're in depression, everything's like this. All you see is you. And everything that you're interpreting as people disrespect you or whatever, it's not accurate. It's just the depression. And so I had to get to the point where it got to the point where I was confused. Like, okay, if something would upset me normally, I had to see if this is upsetting me normally or if this is the depression making it upset me more. I come home, the house is not dirty, and it would just really, not clean. It would just really ruin my life for like a good 2 days, seriously. Or someone says something that bothered me, I would wake up upset. I don't typically wake up upset. It was a horrible, horrible experience, but yet I'm still glad I went through it because I can minister to people. And right now, I feel like I'm breaking strongholds of people that's around me, that's my friends, that's family, that is going through depression who won't take the time to get help. I went through it. I've been through it. I've been delivered by it. And I'm gonna tell you how I'm getting to how I was delivered from it. And it's kind of a funny story to me because I was going to this church. I liked the church. I really did. And then we go there, and I'm like, you know how you find a new church? It's like, oh wait, wow, this is great. Oh wait a minute, this ain't fit. This ain't working for me. This ain't working. And that's kind of how it was. It was like, oh man, now they had to mess up. I'm loving this church. Now they had to come out with this, and they messed it up. So what happened is, I went to church, and it does sound crazy. And I actually intended to have this piece of napkin here for the visual display or whatever. However, I didn't get it, so whatever. So I went to church, and when we walk in, they handed us these white handkerchiefs. And I'm all down for visual aids. Like, okay, they're going to be doing something radical with this. And so my pastor gets up, and he starts to explain that how he prayed over these napkins and that the anointing of God is in them. And if you believe in for healing, blah, 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 you're going to be healed and all that stuff. Really? Yo, I don't believe in that crap. I don't. I'm sorry. I did not believe in it. I don't believe in it. And what it reminded me was of those commercials where the pastors are trying to sell you blessing for $5.99. You can have, well, it's definitely higher than $5.99, but for this amount of money, you can have this blessed rag and whatever. That's what I thought about. And I guess the pastor was sensing everybody's hesitation in the church, so he started to explain. He began to explain it. That's my phone texting, but I hope it's still recording. But he began to explain it, and he explained it like this. He said, it's the same thing when it's no different than. Basically, it says, by your faith, you're healed. It's like when he brought us back to the story where the lady was trying to press through the crowd. If she could just touch the hem of Jesus' garment, then she would be healed. It wasn't the garment that healed her. It was her faith that healed her. And he explained basically the same thing with the rag. It was your faith that healed you. Hey, y'all, I'm recording. It was the faith that healed. It was the faith that healed her. Several scriptures that support faith, by a mustard seed, faith of mustard remove mountains. Yes, at that moment, it was like basically that rag was, I don't know how to explain it. I can't explain it. So at that moment, I felt like, okay, wow, God, this is my chance to be healed. I had prayed about it. I had been praying for deliverance for 5 to 6 years on this thing. Like, God, nothing else will work. I got to the point where I was going to take drugs, legal kind, but I was going to take drugs for my healing. But this moment, I knew that if I had any chance of getting healed, supernaturally speaking, then I was going to have to take this rag and really believe in it. Not the rag, but my faith through the. It's complicated to explain, trust me. But like I said, I understand because I felt the same. Like, yo, this is crazy. A rag, yeah, right. I've been through depression. I've been to the doctor, but let me tell you, I put that rag on my chest because I guess that's where I just assumed that's where my depression came from because it hurt me emotions. I put it right over my heart, and I pray like, Lord, please, I'm believing that my faith is high. Lord, heal me. I'm believing for deliverance. And honestly, I can say that I was healed instantly. And I don't know how I felt about instant healing or supernatural healing prior. And I used to always think like, well, you know, the healing is because God blessed it with this earth and the herbs and the medicines and the doctors that can help with it. But at that moment, it's like God touched me Himself and healed me from depression. I haven't been depressed since, and it's weird because I never plan on talking to people, especially about the depression or the freaking rag that I prayed with. But I still keep that rag in my car just in case I need some more healing. It's in my glove box right now, but it wasn't the rag that healed me. It was my faith that healed me. And then plus it backs up by the word, by your faith is a must, so He can heal you. I mean, it can move mountains. And that was a huge mountain for me. You know, it was a wonderful experience, that part right there, because it gave me another testimony. I can say that God does heal supernatural. It gave me more credibility in my salvation. Like Jesus really touched me and He healed me supernaturally. That's it. I can say God blessed me with a job and all that stuff. But look, I was healed supernaturally. Anybody that knew me, seriously knew that I went through depression, it's over for me now. And it's like, I felt like God was trying to bring me up here, but with the depression, it was keeping me down here. And I know a lot of people that go through depression, they say they feel like they're hindered, they can't get stuff done. That's how I felt. It's like I was in this hot air balloon. It's like, but when that depression was gone, it's like those sandbags that held the hot air balloon were disappearing. I'm starting to rise. I felt my anointing kicking higher. I kicked in the things started opening up more. The sanctuary it was almost like the depression was. It was like I was here, my depression was here, and my blessings were up here. It was like, but as soon as that depression removed, I was able to soar high past the ceiling, past everything. It's like things are opening up with the sanctuary, things open up in my personal life, things open up in my financial. Everything is great in my life right now because of this. And I'm saying that in here, when I'm talking about my life, everything, I'm not affected by, I mean, I am affected, but my joy comes from in here. It doesn't come from monetary things and stuff like this. I'm broke just as I was before I was depressed. But at the same time, I'm still blessed, and I know I'm blessed, and I'm healed and delivered. But it's like when God removed that depression from my life, it's like it allowed His anointing to pour in on me 100-fold. I've seen my spiritual growth instantly. I've done stuff I never thought I'd do. I've done a million things I never thought I'd do. I started witnessing more. I started sharing more because at the time it's like, how can I witness? How can I share my faith if I'm super depressed? I can't tell you like how good God is if I'm sitting here depressed. If I'm sitting here thinking about how I don't want to wake up the next day, how can I share my testimony? How can I share my faith with you? How can I tell you that Christ is awesome? How can I tell you should get saved? How can I tell you this is better than the life you're living if I'm not even experiencing it? So now, firsthand experience. I mean, I've been saved and I shared wonderful testimonies, but this is to me the best testimony I can share with you. God healed me supernaturally. I was depressed, and y'all know me. Y'all know I don't like talking about stuff like this. I like to be crazy, silly, and jokey, and I don't like people to think that I even cry. So for me to be out here and share this with the world, potentially, you know it's God speaking. So hear what He's saying. Hear what I'm saying. Yo, if you're depressed, God can deliver you. If you're not there yet, yo, just go get help. At least take the first step of trying to get help. Admit to it. Acknowledge it for the sake of your family, for the sake of your salvation. Life is too short to go through life not enjoying it. God wants you to enjoy your life abundantly. It says that. It's something in the scripture that says